A key constituency in the worldwide debate about methods and technology used to collect intelligence are so-called digital natives, the generation raised in a digital world. The most tech-savvy among us, as both citizens and practitioners, will shape the surveillance programs of the future and also the laws that will regulate them. Meg King, who serves as National Security Advisor to Wilson Center Director Jane Harman, sets the scene for the discussion that follows in this edition of Rewind.
The digital natives are the younger generation who understand and have grown up with technology, so they're very comfortable using it. They have different perceptions of what privacy should be, when they get to choose their privacy rights, where they start, where they stop, and this is a very difficult concept for many policymakers to understand because they are not of the same generation. This is a topic that needs to be explained better and needs to have a full dialogue between, what do Americans in the 21st century expect their privacy to be, and how should government respond to that? There is a group who are in some ways always going to be skeptical of the government, and maybe they should be. But I think what needs to happen is a continuing conversation, and the private sector can actually be really constructive here. They can help move that conversation forward and help the younger generation understand that government is not always bad.
I wanted to start by just saying that the first issue, which seems so basic that it's almost obvious, is the question of what is privacy. But it's really foundational to all of the issues we discussed today. It's clear that the way we understand privacy has changed dramatically in the last 10 and even in the last 5 or 3 years. And today, the Constitution provides protection via the Fourth Amendment to information over which we have a reasonable expectation of privacy.
We also need to be paying attention to the private sector monitoring. All Americans are being tracked by hundreds of data brokers without their knowledge and consent. And as an recent FTC report notes, these data brokers are maintaining information about our age, gender, race, ethnicity, income level, where we live, where we go, what we buy, our political and religious beliefs, our health, our romantic interests, and our social networks.
It is the first time since 1978, since the passage of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, that the House has successfully voted to repeal any aspect of government surveillance, domestic surveillance. It's so easy to ratchet it up, just a little. The political incentive is so easy. Every once in a while there's a problem and you need a new tool to solve it, and you need a new tool to solve it, and there has not been in a generation an opportunity to address this problem. And what that means is the legal architecture you were describing before is completely out of whack with our technology today. The notion that there's a separate set of rules when the NSA plugs its black box in Palo Alto, then they're to get whatever email traffic they want to see, as opposed to when they plug their black box in Dubai or London. I mean, that's archaic. The same email bounces, my email to you bounces all over the world. But the rules were written when it was literally rotary phones, and I mean, it makes no sense. The framework doesn't make sense on our technology today.
You've been working on some research that tracks Al-Qaeda and social media and how terrorist groups use social media. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about that, and also what are the implications for the use of social media or fighting terrorism and for the digital generation.
In Mumbai, the terrorists used social media to coordinate their activities and communicate back with Pakistan. In Assam, India, doctored photos were sent, text messages were sent through people's trusted networks, spreading misinformation, creating panic, mayhem, resulting in riots. So we're seeing more and more of these uses of social media, of Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, etc., to recruit and radicalize, to coordinate their activities, to get situational awareness, to spread propaganda, to incite panic and undermine stability. Essentially, it's large-scale hacking of human behavior.
The polls show that the digital generation thinks that Snowden did the right thing. The polls also show that people over the age of 65 do not think that he did the right thing. So I'm wondering if you can describe some of the differences and what their implications are for policy and legal aspects.
The problem of Edward Snowden is a very thorny one. I think that there's a lot of, is he a hero or is he a traitor? And it's obviously a more complicated problem than that. He appears to have committed a crime with advanced knowledge that what he did was a criminal act. however you feel about the ethics of that, that makes it very complicated for members of Congress to touch.
That's true.
This. But if it wasn't him, it was going to be something else. I do not believe that our government could have kept this secret forever.
If it had been Edward Snowden's objective to produce a debate about those issues, he could have leaked a dozen or two documents and gone home. He apparently stole, I've seen estimates as large as 1.7 million documents and as low as several 100,000 documents. And so to me, somebody who does that and then gets on a plane to China and then ends up on Russia is somebody whose intention is simply to do damage to the United States.
I think the question is whether this is our generational moment. This is the shot that our guys, that my team gets. We get one shot and then we're not going to talk about it again for 30 years. Or is it going to be a sustained political effort over time to do what really needs to be done and update this infrastructure piece by piece?
This is not a problem that's going to be solved overnight. It's an iterative process that will develop over time. But I think that as the government gets better at balancing necessary forms of secrecy with greater transparency, the incentives and the motivations of people like Snowden, I hope, will evaporate.
For more information on surveillance and a range of security issues and topics, visit wilsoncenter.org.